So what do we have? Wait, yeah. So we're back, and we are looking at the brightest moments of the game. We need to do this, so it's easier for you. I think it should be okay, right?
We should be totally fine. We are back, ready to go.
So yeah, the first game happened, and it was, I have to say, it was a close one, right? It was a very, very close one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think RoX showed a lot of really good setups, a lot of really good initiatives to really kind of focus out that Corki. It was just very unfortunate that right at the end, they were the ones that got caught out and were just not really able to kind of finish off the side of UOL. Where, as I say, though, there were a lot of very positive, aspects of the side of RoX. They were able to keep the Azir healthy for a very, very long time, keep him up in those fights. And as soon as the Corki goes down, we saw it on multiple occasions, they just didn't have any extra damage, especially with that lethality virus coming into this game.
Yeah, especially like when I was saying that the RoX don't have like clear tanks. I mean, not a lot of clear tanks because it's just basically Nautilus. But still, even when dealing with someone like a Sat or a Lee Sin, who have quite a lot of HP. Let's put it this way: lethality virus cannot actually like one shot them. You know, you need someone squishy to be in front of him. He wants to shut down guys like Senna, maybe Azir, but this wasn't the case. And even though he ended up to be the true hero of the game, to be honest, I mean, his Baron play was basically what stopped RoX from winning. Remember the hail of arrows coming in from the side, from the other side of the wall, which gave Unicorns of Love 2 kills and stopped RoX from actually doing the Nasher. I still want to stress out that lethality virus was not a problem. I wouldn't say that this is actually the moment that I'm talking about. Lethality virus was still a good pick in my opinion, because that was the pick that gave them the early advantage in terms of like gold and map pressure in the beginning of the mid game. And we saw that it was working really well. Gadget was landing those chains of corruption, and then like shutting down people with his arrows. But then, in the hyper late game, when the team fights fell apart for Unicorns of Love, yeah, Varus cannot really do anything. But it doesn't mean that lethality Varus is a bad pick.
Exactly, it's not a bad pick, it's not a bad build either, but like you said, it was those 2 kills that almost opened the floodgates, if you will, for the side of UOL to pick up the Baron, pick up the Elder Drake, pick up the win. And this is kind of the idea behind the finals. When realistically you're looking at finals material kind of from both sides, you have to win these very close games. These are the games that will make or break your entire split. And this was the unfortunate one little misstep from the side of Plati, and it's just not it's just not quite good enough. And that's the biggest difference, I suppose, from both sides, that you have to be better. And at the end of the day, regardless of the result, the better team will always win.
Yeah, I would say that it's something that we can something that we can just forgive him for. I would say, it's,
absolutely.
it's just that even if he would like make a play there and even like hit 2 or 3 people, what are the chances that he defends the base 1v5 or 1v4? I don't remember the exact numbers. I would say non-existent. Literally. So
well, yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be the devil's advocate here or something like that, but I want to point out that when the ult mattered, he did a very good job. He failed the only time when it didn't matter at all. So I would say success. I mean, in general, wouldn't you agree? Penguin? I'm getting scared and lonely here. Let me type you. I can't hear you. This is a minor inconvenience. I'm sure that my co-caster will be right back. once again, we are joined by Mr. Oshin Malloy from the LPL English cast, which is amazing, by the way. And thank you once again. Yeah, he'll be back in a couple of seconds. He'll be back.
I think I have returned.
Good. Because I was getting scared.
You were getting lonely. Don't call it scared. You were getting lonely.
Yeah, that too.
I think Discord's playing tricks on us because I thought my internet dropped, but then I was playing the stream and a lot of other different things on the back end, and nothing else was lagging or gone. So it was definitely a bit of a situation. But yes, as I said, it all comes down to the setup of how you look for these advantages and when you get them. If you're not able to capitalize them when you have them, unfortunately, you don't deserve to win. And it was just UOL who capitalized on the advantages they had when they needed the most.
Yeah, all in all, it was a game that Unicorns of Love should have won just much earlier. Right. This is basically the only criticism that we can say out loud is the fact that they kind of let it go into the late game where they shouldn't have. With such a start where you get all the early objectives, where you get a kill lead and a goal lead, normally you should finish the game with more confidence. I mean, I understand why they could have had some, let's say, issues in the game, but I feel like it should have been way easier for them. But now we're gonna go into the second game, and this time around we'll see more adaptations. What do you think about how the game will go and how the teams will adapt, especially from the side of RoX?
For RoX, I really do want to see them looking towards playing again. Not so much an adaptation, but more just a doubling down. Play around your mid laner. They have got the damage and the skill, if you will, to be able to play around Flatty and make sure he is the carry. And honestly, his Azir was fantastic throughout that entire game. One mess up at the back end of it does not change that. And yeah, I want to see if they're able to kind of get him something like the Akali, like the Aurelia, things we've seen him pretty much throughout the season use as these things that he can snowball and win with.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like for that, they kind of need to ensure that both Azir and Corki are banned. Because those are just two very, very safe mid laners. And I know that if you play something like an Aurelia, you can punish both Azir and Corki, especially if the jungler plays around you. But those are probably the safest picks there are. But we'll see how the draft goes, because the draft starts right now, so we can actually discuss it during the draft. And by the way, RoX, since RoX were higher seed, they were choosing the side for the first game, and the second game is decided by Unicorns of Love, and they chose the red side for them. So they're comfortable with the draft that they had before, and they don't want to change a lot, I guess.
Yeah, we could see the exact same picks and bans coming in. The Kalista and the Renekton, almost certainly going to be a Karthus last ban as well for RoX, as the Aurelia and Pantheon banned away by UOL. Now we get to see what the priority is going to be for RoX if the Senna does creep through that pick and ban phase again.
I feel like Senna was really good on the side of RoX. I feel like Shiganari did an amazing job on that champion, and they were utilizing it quite well, especially with a couple of great global ultis that kind of changed the pace of the game. Ooh, it's actually Lee Sin.
Lee Sin going to be banned away here. Okay, this gives RoX... So this is a kind of a strategy I like to see in draft, where you give someone so many power picks, but they can only pick one, and you could potentially pick up two. So this is a good red side power play. I like to see what it goes with and where they kind of push it forward from here. But RoX, they got to make a decision on what their first pick's going to be.
I feel like Senna is fine, but they're going to take away the Trundle, actually.
Taking away the Trundle, not going to be able to give something to Ananachik, excuse me, and Ananasick. God, there's an extra H in there that I just it destroys me as a Western English speaker. But Senna has been left open, so has Set, so has a lot of other different power picks that they want to pick on the side of UOL. I imagine right now they just go for the Senna and they just go for the Tam Kench, look for that bot lane, because it worked so damn well for them in game one, the original game one.
Yeah, the original game. It did work well, but I don't think they have to pick the Tahm Kench here. They can still go for something like a set and lock in Tahm Kench later on if they are more or less confident that Varus and Tahm Kench is not something that RoX are going to play with. And also, as I said before, even if the enemy goes for Varus Tahm Kench, it doesn't leave Senna without any support. There are still other champions that you can pair her up with. She's actually the sole reason why we have those interesting picks. Let's say basically a wide variety of picks in the bottom side of the map. Because with Senna, you can basically pick any melee character that can scale up.
I love this from the side of RoX, picking up Flatty's Akali, knowing that it's something that he can play. However, the answer to it straight away is going to be that Kassadin, an equally mobile champion. This mid lane is going to be explosive once it hits level 6.
Yes, and I feel like this is not something that you want to play around with, because Kassadin is one of those champions that kind of puts you on the clock. Right? If you don't finish the game before he's level 16 with 3 items under his belt, he basically just 1v5s. I would say 1v9s the entire map. And this is, I mean, and no one is known for his Kassadin. And also, I feel like this is a good matchup for Kassadin because he struggles against ranged characters, but Akali is also another melee that even though she can put pressure on Kassadin early on, he outscales her really, really fast.
Yeah, he's got a lot of burst damage. Once you get to, like you said, that 3-item level 16 point, he riff rocks in, drops down the Void Sphere, able to completely 100-0 most people in any kind of circumstance. And that's the scary opportunity you've got to look at now if you're on the side of RoX. You've got to look at that. I keep thinking to call them RoX Tigers. I'm so sorry. And I keep having to catch myself. It's like, they're not the RoX Tigers. They're gone. The dream is dead, Oshi. Move on. But as we see that now, we're looking at all these different bans coming in. Still a jungler, AD carry to be picked up, or potentially an AD carry to be picked up for the side of UOL, as they could put that center to support. But Tahm Kench, Kindred ban, the Varus and the Misfortune ban as well. Felios is still available. I must ask you, this must be a thing that I am not privy to, but we see this throughout all of their major regions. Why isn't Felios such a priority for any of the teams in LCL?
I don't know. I would say that Aphelios, especially before. No, I mean, I'm sorry, but that's true. It's I wouldn't say that Aphelios is weak. I mean, he's weaker than he used to be, but even with the nerfs, I mean, except for the nerfs in patch 10.8, where he lost his % armor shred, before that, Aphelios was probably the strongest ADC, and his strength comes from his utility. He's unique because he can do anything. You want a stun? Have the Moonlight Vigil with the what's it called? Graviton Cannon on, and you can basically immobilize the entire enemy team. You want AoE damage? Have the same with Infernum. You want to siege? You have Calibrum. You want to deal with one pesky little tank that gets close to you? You have Chakram, and you basically chunk anyone. And with the Chakram also, you chunk the objectives, the Nashers, the Dragons, and so on. So I would say that Aphelios is the strongest ADC in the current meta, but as you see, he's not that respected. But we were talking about Aphelios for too long, I would say, because there is a Nocturne.
Yeah, there is a Nocturne picked up. The Aphelios was picked eventually by RoX after you said you don't know why they don't pick it, but Nocturne and Taric locked in for the bot lane of, for the jungle and bot lane support of UOL. That is going to be almost certainly a fasting Senna with the Taric. So a lot of engage coming out here from UOL. They're looking to try and just run at RoX and not stop.
Yeah, and imagine the combination with the Kassadin and the Nocturne. The Taric ulti seems great. Like, how do you stop that? And actually, like, this is a little bit of a story from solo queue, but you know that one of the funneling strategies that was terrorizing solo queue was actually Taric Kassadin. They are unstoppable after some point, because if Kassadin, like, imagine how annoying Kassadin is after level 16. Imagine if we add like 3 seconds of invulnerability to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things that you kind of have to be very, very careful of coming into these team fights, that you're not just walking straight into an invulnerable Kassadin and Set, that can just 100% deal with your backline. On the other side, you're looking at RoX. They have a lot more of a traditional front-to-back team fight with the Akali looking to assassinate people on the back end.
But it's going to be hard for her to find a backline carry, because I feel like Unicorns of Love are going to be the ones to set up the engages, and they have a tremendous access to the backline of the enemy team, because Seth is very, very, very good when it comes to actually getting access to backline, because even in a front-to-back situation, he doesn't need to flank. He just ults someone in the front line, and he can get to the squishy characters who are going to be, who's going to be just the Aphelios, basically, because Akali is going to be looking to flank somewhere, right? To come from behind or from the side to get the access to the backline of her own. But this time around, I feel like it's just easier for Unicorns of Love to execute their comp, even though it's going to take some time for them to scale up, because Nocturne is not someone who likes to gank pre-6. The Kassadin pre-6 is just a non-existent character. He doesn't have any pressure, even against Akali. And yeah, basically, you know what I was hoping for when you were talking about the ADC pick, the possibility of an ADC pick? I was looking for Graves, actually.
Yeah, I was thinking Graves bot lane.
No, I wasn't thinking Graves bot lane. I was thinking Graves jungle, because that's an ADC that, technically he's an ADC, even though he plays in the jungle, and he has a good matchup into Trundle. So normally when you have a Senna, you want to have a sort of a hyper carry with the ability to wave clear, especially considering the fact that you don't have any wave clear on your mid lane. And I would say Graves was the best pick there. If I was, I'm not taking into account the champion pools of players, because I don't know, I'm not working with them, but I feel like Graves would be just perfect there. I know that Nocturne synergizes with Taric really well, but having Graves, someone who's very dominant in the jungle, and he adds a lot of wave clear, just because even if the enemy is pushing, you can just use Q and ulti. End of the line with the collateral damage pretty much destroys the wave of minions. It works kind of like MF, you know, we've seen a lot of MFs just using her bullet time to clear the wave, to reset the position of the lane in order to get like 30 more seconds. I think it could work. But anyway, that's just theory.
Yep. That's just a theory. A game theory. Thank you for saying this, all that kind of stuff. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are finally on to the rift for Game 2 of this best of 5 in the LCL Finals for Spring 2020. And we look at all these different champions rolling into the mid. Just kind of a standard flank out. No one really looking for anything too crazy. But interesting enough, just looking at the summoners, we're looking at a PP in the mid lane from that Akali, looking to try and follow no mans around the map.
Yeah, so both mid laners going for TP. Something I would be, I was a bit surprised, because I would think that Akali wants to use Ignite in order to like get a couple of early kills. Wouldn't you say so? Because like imagine that, right? If we talk about scaling, if we talk about like level 11 plus, Akali should be much weaker than the Kassadin, and I don't think Akali can withstand Kassadin on a side lane. So shouldn't you be playing from the, from the like PowerPoint, from the advantage that you can get early on? And Trundle can gain Kassadin before level 6. Pillar can be very deadly because Kassadin has no escapes before he gets his ulti.
Well, I also think as well that you're looking at a, Conqueror Kassadin, very hard to kind of keep him down in terms of all the sustain he has, especially with his Q, and Lexus going to take a huge chunk already onto the Nautilus, and you can see just how powerful that Dazzle can be for that Taric and the combination with this Senna. And right now, it's going to be a pretty easy mid to top side of the jungle for both sides of these junglers. I'm curious to see where they start to look for this gank pressure.
I feel like Ananasik shouldn't look for any gank pressure at all. Maybe just the counter gank against the Trundle, because you want to power farm on Nocturne. He's basically like a Karthus. He's also very ulti reliant. Before he gets his ulti, he can just walk up. That's it. And usually enemy teams with wards and all that jazz, they kind of see it coming.
Yeah, I completely agree. They can see the exact kind of flanks they're looking for. You can see a ward going down there on top of Nanasek's blue, so they know exactly where that Nocturne is going to be pathing. And I play a lot of Nocturne jungle. I quite enjoy the Nocturne jungle myself, and this is something that I love to see from teams to really put pressure onto him, because he is very, very weak at the very early start of the game, especially when you've got someone who's so good at dueling like that Trundle.
Well, I wouldn't say that this matchup is clearly into Trundle's, clearly Trundle favored, I would say, because if you block the first bite, it kind of becomes easy to out-duel the Trundle. I mean, if you block the first Q with your W, with your spell shield. But unfortunately, that's not gonna happen. That's not what's gonna happen here, because 4 gets the blue buff for himself, and he shows up in the mid lane.
Yeah, it comes in, gonna force the flash from No Man's and just jump straight in. There's the fear going down onto 4. The spell shield does absolutely nothing. Flash in, first blood going over to the Akali. It is traded back though as we look straight down into that bot side. It's going to be the exhaust dropping down onto that Aphelios, and now they turn over to Lexus as he tries to keep running away. It is level 3 for the Taric and level 2 for the Senna, because they won't be able to lock him down, and there's no mana for anyone on the side of UOL. But Lexus, you got to be careful. You can't just keep walking up like this.
I mean, I would expect him to learn, at least after like first couple of dazzles, but it's not gonna happen. We're gonna see another fight.
Yeah, another fight. TP coming in as well. Heal has been used. Flash away from Santos as well, as we're going to see. That's going to be the Akali, and this is the TP play. She's affecting around the map. Gets a nice hook as well. It's going to be 2 kills in the bot side, and RoX picking up a nice advantage in this early game.
Wow, that's hats off to Flotty for utilizing this teleport like this. His opponent used the TP to get into the lane, kind of a selfish use of teleport, while Flati wasn't not against losing a couple of seconds while you walk from the bottom side to the mid lane, and he got 2 kills for his team, which was amazing. And this is a mistake from Unicorns of Love. They underestimated the fact that Akali has the TP, and they were pushing very, very aggressively.
Did not respect the fact that the Akali could join in. Of course, you had got the TP available as well to the side of the Ornn as well, so there were still options available. But for the side of RoX, it's a fantastic start that we've seen a couple of times now in favor of, this team, but it needs to kind of happen a little bit more. I want to see if Flatty can really take over this game. I talked about it a little bit in the pregame. This guy has clearly got the mechanics to be able to carry his team to victory if he's given the platform to do so.
Exactly, and for the Akali, the platform is a couple of early kills, and Flati got them. He actually has a good setup right now for to take away the early mid game from the enemy team, because Akali is very, very strong even after all the nerfs. I mean, she's weak in the early parts of the laning phase, but that doesn't mean she's weak at all.
Well, we're going to see it engage in the mid lane. No Man's has got his ult available to him. Should he want to go for it? And 4! Almost giving over a free kill there. And this is the pressure, the slipperiness you have with the Kassadin. Very difficult to lock them down. And that's both the ultimates down and the flash as well. So I don't know exactly if that's really worth it right there. Just really not kind of estimating how much damage they could do in one kind of fail swoop.
I feel, we've seen this happening before when Unicorns of Love picked Kassadin and RoX wanted to punish him as hard as they can in the very early stages of the game. And actually in the last game, not the last one. Okay, in the second game of the split, they wanted to go for a dive on level 4 or 3 Kassadin, and they ended up giving double kill to the Kassadin, and you can imagine from there how the game went. So it's nice to see that this time they didn't overcommit, even though it was kind of dangerous. Usually,
okay,
I would say...
Yeah, I was going to say Dragon taken as well, so overall, RoX still in control of this game, up to about 1,500 gold lead.
Yeah, I wanted just to say that when you play against Kassadin, the idea shouldn't be to punish Kassadin. The idea should be to punish the team that has the Kassadin, because they do not have a laner who wants to join early fights. You have to go for the objectives. That's it. And punish the side lanes. Yeah.
Santos needs to back himself away, and now top lane we could see maybe a little bit more of a move here, and that's going to be the Nocturne caught out, taken down almost certainly with no flash available to him, and he is taken down almost instantly from this top side, and RoX coming out of this gate swinging, looking for those advantages against UOL in this early game.
And I have to say that RoX are doing a very good job of applying pressure to this team that wants to scale up. You have the Senna, you have the Tarek, you have Kassadin and Nocturne. All of those champions, they kind of want to get some items under their belt and actually get some levels, which is even more important. You want to have the ultimates ready and running for Senna, for Tarek, for Nocturne as well. And I feel like that Unicorns of Love are not playing their comp right, because they are the ones who are kind of answering on this, like to this aggression. They are actually going forward, and unless it got caught in the middle of the river, if you are playing safe, you don't go into the river, especially when you don't have the priorities on the lanes.
See exactly if they can go for anything else, but like you said, an early kill for the Akali, early kill for the Trundle, and 2 kills on the bot side as well for the Aphelios and Nautilus respectively, means that RoX are in a very commanding position, nearly coming up to 2,500 gold at the 8.5 minute mark. But they have got a Paranoia available to them now too, a Nanashek. So see if you can make something happen in one of these side lanes. I would like to see him do something in the bot side, but just not a lot of follow-up with the Tarek Senna, so we'll see what he does with it.
I mean, the follow-up is gonna be there when Tarek and Senna will get their level 6 with the ultis, because, I mean, just the Senna's ulti, it can't be enough to just entirely shut down Aphelios. Aphelios is squishy, and Nocturne is pretty much an assassin, right? He's not a jungle boozer or anything like that. He wants to go for the backline, he wants to kill somebody who's vulnerable and squishy, and Aphelios is a good target for him. But while we're talking about Nocturne's ulti, we see that RoX are getting another objective for them. It's the Herald.
Yeah, another objective. They've already rotated their bot lane towards the top, so Boss needs to back himself out pretty swiftly. No Man's is trying to defend his mid lane, so good, decent, deep vision here from RoX as well. You can see it's completely focused around this topside jungle, and they just want to keep this Nocturne down, keep him under tabs, under wraps, make sure they know exactly where he is at all times.
And here I want to praise once again RoX for doing exactly what they should be doing against the team with Kassadin. They should apply pressure everywhere, because Kassadin doesn't really want to join his team in the early skirmishes. And early skirmishes is pretty much like 90% of what we have in the competitive. And it's a good setup for actually summoning, to summon the Herald, because this is two plates left, and Shelly's gonna do her job and get the first turret for the team RoX.
Very strange rotation coming out here from UOL. There's no way in hell you can stop this Rift Herald from taking the turret, and all you're really doing is kind of funneling gold into your set, which I don't know if that's your win condition right now, but nevertheless, they will be able to get this one going for themselves and push in towards the top side. UOL need to respond to RoX in some way, shape, or form, because right now they're just bleeding objectives.
Yeah, and I feel like that was just weird, because normally, like, if the enemy team does the swap and you were just late, normally what you do, you stay in the bot side and you get the turret plates. I mean, you won't get the turret, but you'll get like 3 plates for yourself. And as you said, this is basically funneling gold into Sett, which is, again, like, Sett is a strong character and he has a very strong mid-game spike, but this is not someone that you would rely on in this team composition. I would much rather see Nomans going to the side lane immediately. Like, imagine this swap happening and they just swap Gadget and Santos into the mid lane, and they send Nomans to the bot side, where he can farm safely for quite some time. And this is what Kassadin wants, right?
Yeah, it looks like he's going to try and do it now, swapping up towards that top side as Sett is in the bot lane. But the dragon spawning in just 10 seconds means that it's going to be RoX with the first rotation available. Santos needs to be very careful here. The dredge line does not connect, which means they will be able to spot out the rest of RoX coming in on top of this. And this is the fear, I suppose, that Flotty had against this Kassadin, probably why he went with the teleport to try and follow him, because right now he's just losing these trades straight up. And I'd like to see this for the side of, UOL, using the pressure they could possibly have against this Akali to try and really push her back as the dragon goes down, and they get themselves the second Drake of the game.
So basically, this game is gonna go like this. Unicorns of Love try to get Kassadin ahead, and RoX are trying to get ahead with objectives. This is the second dragon, and we're gonna have an infernal map, which is insane for all the characters here. Maybe except the supports and the Ord. Maybe. But I would say that Infernal Soul is probably the strongest of them all. of all the souls, and on damage characters, someone like Akali, who already has a lot of burst, adding more AoE burst is making her even stronger. But the fact is that in the side lane, I don't think Akali can win a 1v1 versus Kassadin. Even though she has hit her first power spike, because the fight that we saw before was when Akali didn't have the gunblade and Nomans already had the Road of Ages, so he was technically stronger with one completed item. I would say that, like, in 2 items, this is a no-go for Akali. Kassadin just kills her, and there is always the help from his team, because they have 2 globals, the Nocturne ulti and the Senna ulti. Kassadin is never truly alone.
Kassadin always has a friend around the place to make sure he does not go down in these team fights. You can see already No Man's putting down the pressure onto Flatty, making sure he cannot just have his way with anything right now. And this is going to be a replay of just a trade, and highlighting the fact that No Man's should have the advantage pretty much exclusively in this kind of 1v1 matchup.
Yeah, but I still feel like Kassadin is kind of a selfish pick, because in today's meta, leaving your team without a mid laner for like the good first 15 minutes of the game is not exactly what I would call a smart idea. Wow, this is interesting.
Here we go. Boss gonna go in straight away with the ultimate, but then cannot get the haymaker out. And that is just a very unfortunate timing right there. They're trying to stop Santos from getting back to his team. He's forced to flash away. No Man's is here. There's the paranoia down onto the bot side. Heal used there by the Aphelios means that the side of RoX are still totally okay. And while all this is happening, you got yourself an Akali just split pushing in the top side. This has just actually gone totally wrong for the side of UOL.
Yeah, this has gone as wrong as it could have, and now we see the continuation of this fight.
We are going to see the continuation coming in. Taric ultimate down, the TP coming in. This time it's going to be Boss for another fight as they're trying to get the kill from No Man's. He's not able to get it, just about able to trade his life though. Now the fight continues. Flash is being burned all the time. UOL looking hard forced to try and make this fight work, but it just really isn't sticking.
Yeah, that was the Unicorns of Love making a proactive play, and it was just Boss engaging a little bit too early, I want to say, because he went in, and even if we imagine that he could have used his Haymaker to get the extra shield, his team was nowhere near, and normally we saw the combination that they want to use already in fight. We saw the Nocturne Paranoia coming on to the Aphelios and immediately followed up with the Senna ulti and Kassadin jumping in. This time around Shigenari saved himself from this combination, but just died to Kassadin later on. We're gonna see the replay of the second part of this fight, because this time around Unicorns of Love were together. They had the Taric ulti, so Dreampool going in basically means that he's not gonna get anyone, and he should be thankful that he got out of there alive. And yeah, so it's a trade 1-for-1, but this is a reminder that Unicorns of Love are not... even though their composition has to scale, it doesn't mean that you can joke around with it. And Nomans is already level 11. This is the first power spike, the first sign of the disaster,
It's still a very, very long way away for him to getting to level 16. Still a lot of League of Legends to play. We are still only 16 minutes into this game. A 4,000 gold lead for RoX as No Man's. He's trying his very best. He's actually still behind in this matchup, only just by a little bit. And I feel like, yes, he is going to be able to win in these split pushes, but it's about these team fights is why RoX looked so good in the first game. And now we can see them looking in the back into this mid. They're trying to get on top of Gadget, but they will be able to take him down straight away. And with everybody just tanking it up for this Akali, 2 swift kills, RoX have full control over this mid turret, and they're going to be able to drop the Rift Herald and continue the push.
And once again, good execution from RoX. They didn't want to fight Kassadin in the top side. They just rotated to the mid lane where Gadget and Santos were both there without their flashes. So it means it's just 2 easy kills. They set up the Herald. They didn't use it for the first turret because they know they can get it for themselves. And that's 2 quick turrets and 2 quick kills. That means that the gold advantage just grows up. It actually balloons up, I would say, very, very quickly.
We're gonna see Boss is here. Boss is looking for an engage. Gets his ultimate off. Now he gets the Haymaker as well. Here comes the Ornhorn, though, as they look to try and disengage. feel like No Man's was actually dead to rights there, but someone knocked into the blast cone and knocked everybody away. So overall, they still pick up the jungler. They're going to look for this dragon. I don't know if the side of RoX can fight this. They haven't got a great amount of health bars or mana bars.
Yeah, I feel like they have to give it up, and this is a first like sign of trouble, I would say. First of all, if you're a Unicorns of Love fan, or you're just, or RoX, no, if you're a RoX fan, you're hoping that somebody from Unicorns of Love, that it was the Kassadin who used the blast cone, because otherwise they're just trolling. I don't think it was the Kassadin, by the way. I think it was a misclick. I think it was a misclick. So it was a huge shutdown for Nomans. He got 600 gold, killing 4. And also, and I mean, not 4 players, for the player, okay? He killed Trundle, he got 600 gold from it, and they got the Dragon, which is another important win condition when you want to speed up the game. And against the Kassadin and the likes of Taric and Senna, you want to speed the game up. That was the plan for RoX, and they were doing it quite well up until this moment. Here, I feel like they overextended a bit, because going for like the pressure on the tier 3 turret and getting the tier 2 turret was not necessary for them there, but still, okay, they're still in the lead, they're still sitting comfortably with 5k gold lead. This is more than enough, around 20 minutes. The only problem is that they kind of prolonged the game with the Dragon, because now they have to wait for 10 more minutes to get the possibility to get the Infernal Soul, which is not gonna happen, but maybe they can get boss.
They might be able to get boss. This is actually a bit of a dangerous play, though. He gets the Haymaker off, which means there's going to be more and more damage. They still keep him down and get themselves that quick kill. But mid lane and top lane being pushed in, you're losing pressure in all the rest of the map. No Man's picking up more farm, more pressure around his win condition, which is picking up those experience and gold to make sure he is the carry for his team.
And this is actually what should happen for Unicorns of Love. They should be the ones just farming in every safe place possible. And this is why the play that they made on the bot side was kind of weird, because normally with in the situation like this, you want the Kassadin to stay in the lane, to get more farm, to get a gold advantage, especially compared to Akali. But in the bot lane, we actually saw the vice versa effect. It was Akali who stayed in the top lane, and Kassadin joined the fight before he was level 16 or before he even had 2 items. I mean, here, boss had no chances of survival. Absolutely none. 4v1. This is too easy, especially with the amount of control that RoX team has. But when the time comes, if we like speed up and look in the future in like around 30 minutes, if Kassadin has TP and Taric and Nocturne are nearby, let's say, you cannot do that. Okay, Gadget.
Oh, we're gonna see a little bit of an engage here. Exhaust goes down. Gadget still stayed alive. 2 ultimates down now for the side of RoX, but a lot of summoners burnt there from UOL. No Man's gets hooked, but able to rift walk away. They're trying to just put down as much damage as they possibly can. No Man's still looking for that side flank if he can with boss. They are looking for it. They're going to try and see if they can get it. The Dazzle lands. They now got a 2-man. It's a bit of a pinch coming in. There's the Paranoia as well. They're going to jump in. It's a 5-man ult from the Senna, and a fantastic face plant from the set. This is the perfect team fight for the side of UOL, and they are shredding the side of RoX. They did not respect the flanks coming in. 3 kills over to the side of UOL, and No Man's is still hunting. I don't know if he's going to be able to get anything else from this, but that is almost certainly going to be Barry.
I mean, he wouldn't get the 4th kill, but still, that was so impressive, and this is exactly how this composition should be working. I don't know why RoX were paying literally 0 attention to the possibility of the flank. Actually, no one can get caught here. He's very confident.
He is very, very confident because he feels like he has the damage. One more rift walk into him will do it, but the perfect execution. No, the shuriken flip, and that is a nice little play there from Flatty. But the Baron is still going down. They haven't got it taken just yet. There it goes. The TP did come in as well. They're trying to get everybody out as quick as they possibly can. There's the Ornn just knocking them all up into the wall, trying to see if you can get anything from this. They will be able to take down at least 1 more, possibly 2. There is the ultimate from Aphelios, and they will only get this Baron onto 2 members. RoX striking back.
Yeah, they are definitely striking back. That was a very important outplay from Flade, because if he dies there, that basically kind of sounds like a GG to me. But I mean, I can be a bit of a pessimist, to be fair, from time to time. I have to say that Unicorns of Life don't really care about losing the Nashor buff, because they weren't really trying to push with it. They're still on the back foot. They still want to come back. But look at this fight. I mean, that was amazing. That was amazing.
Perfect flank there. And again, that was just RoX not really respecting the fact that the Kassadin can reposition so quickly. Boss was in complete fog of war and no man's land. And it's just a great fight. And despite being about 5,000 gold behind, you can still make these kind of plays happen if you're able to get the Kassadin into an advantageous position.
Exactly, and No Man's Land exactly is the No Man's Land, and this is a play of words. If you didn't get it, sorry, but this is his style of champions. He likes to be, as I said, the knight style of champion, right? The guy who wants to be carrying, and when he gets the opportunity like this, he's gonna take it, especially considering the fact that there is a lot of follow-up from great distance from Unicorns of Love. Basically, Boss and Nomans coming in, they will have the support of Ananasi, Gadget, and Santos, even if they're like 2 screens away. Well, maybe not 2 screens away. Let's say 1 screen away. But still, they can do that. And I wanted to say that losing the Baron buffs and people is not really important to Unicorns of Love. They were not looking to push with it. More importantly, they didn't give the Unicorns of, they didn't give RoX the opportunity to push with the Nashor, because basically they won like 6 minutes of game time for themselves, and also they got the extra gold from getting the Nashor. So they should be sitting quite happily with the fact that they are now only 3.5k behind, and 4 minutes ago it was 5k gold lead for RoX.
Yeah, they picked themselves up a nice little bit of gold to try and get themselves back into this lane. You're now 2 levels away from No Man's for being that level 16. He's also building up towards his 3rd item. He's going to be a very difficult man to deal with. And then you look on the other side, you have got 2 items onto the Akali. She's gone with the Leandri's Torment and the Hextech Gunblade. You've got the 2 items now along with the Zeal for the Aphelios. So these damage carries on both these teams are going to start wrecking people if they are given the platform to do so. And for the side of RoX, they are still in the lead. They still have the advantage when it comes to team fights, in my opinion, if they can stop the flanks from Boss and No Man's.
But you have to be very careful when you're advancing in the enemy territory then. You will have to, if you're RoX, you have to put the wards on every side of their jungle. If we're talking about like mid lane, you see the wards that they put right now with the control wards and the common wards, I don't know, the vision wards, I forgot the word, in the right side of the map. This is a good vision to prevent flanks from happening. Last time they were pushing the tier 3 without any vision from the side, and when that happens, usually Unicorns of Love can initiate, they can find a flank. And to be fair, I wouldn't say that Kassadin really needs this kind of flanking position, because, let me put it this way. He doesn't need to set up a flanking position, because he can do it after level 16. He can do it with 2 Riftwalks very quickly. It's just the set who really wants to get in a good position before the fight. And all the others can join in immediately. And I'm feeling kind of scared for RoX, because as time is working for Unicorns of Love in this game, for sure. They have Kassadin with 3 items right now, level 15. And at the same time you have Senna, who scales infinitely, and Taric, who's going to provide everyone with invulnerability. This is starting to look scary, I would say.
Looking very scary, but RoX still in a very good position themselves. They've got 3 items on the Aphelios, so if they can keep him alive, they can do a lot of DPS and get these team fights back into their favor. But No Man's sitting on that 11,000 gold. There's so much money in him. They see that they're just trying to get some money back into the Nocturne, because he has unfortunately been kind of the... Sorry, not the Nocturne, excuse me. The Trundle has been the... sad kind of, throwaway for the side of RoX. They need to make sure that he is on an equal level with this Nocturne, but right now he's 2 levels behind.
Yeah, and this is also a very important moment when it comes to securing the objectives. You know that Nocturne can fly in with a Taric ulti from long distance, and if he's 2 levels ahead, it's going to be easier for him to secure, let's say, the next Infernal Dragon, who's gonna appear in a minute. Also, the Baron's gonna appear in a minute, and I feel like during those... this is like basically the last minute for both teams to farm because then we're gonna have important fights, because Unicorns of Love are definitely not willing to give away the Infernal Drake and the Infernal Soul, and the same goes for Baron. So right now, what RoX should do, they should set up the vision in the enemy jungle as deep as they can, and then prepare for, well, apparently the dragon. Since they're setting up vision in the bottom side of the map, I'm feeling they're gonna go for the dragon, which is still gonna be dangerous.
See if we get something there. Rift walk in. We're gonna see Lexus maybe getting jumped on here a little bit. The Dazzle goes down. They get the CC in. There's the Taric ultimate as well as the Paranoia. They're going to be able to get jumped straight onto this Aphelios, who is able to burn down the GA. But the set comes in. Faceplant, Haymaker, 2 quick kills, and only the Nocturne falls. This is a fight for UOL all the way. They've got the damage. They've got the health bars. They've got what they wanted. And UOL will take another team fight.
Once again, you know, I mean, it's Akali's ultimate who's called Perfect Execution. Talk about Perfect Execution in this setup from Unicorns of Love. They didn't need the flank, they didn't need anything. Actually, 4 is gonna die here, I feel like. No, Nomans doesn't have the mana to chase him down. Still, it's an Infernal Drake and the fight for Unicorns of Love. What a way to start a fight. You just go in with Kassadin, who has the Taric stun on him, and immediately, when you get somebody under CC, you can follow it up with the Taric's ulti and the Paranoia. Even though Nocturne died and he fell, I mean, he first fell into the GA and such, Nomans was not touched the entirety of this fight. Look,
Nomans
he can just do whatever.
Free hitting, and they had to put all their efforts into keeping Aphelios alive by poking down the Nocturne. And after that, your damage is gone. Your Kali is dead. Your Aphelios is dead. You've used everything on trying to keep your AD carry alive. There's nothing for you to do here. Honestly, I feel like that was just RoX not really understanding the power of this, you know, no man's Kassadin pick, because he is just a monster right now.
I mean, I felt like they understood it, because the first game they didn't want to blind pick mid lane in the first 3 picks, and they banned away Kassadin in the second rotation. This game they just went for Akali, and they got punished for that. But to be fair, that's not the Akali pick that was punished, that was the fact that RoX didn't manage to accelerate the game enough, because they started the game quite well and they were punishing Unicorns of Love for picking Kassadin by applying pressure. But we're gonna see what's gonna happen, because they are starting the Nashor right now.
Nashor down to about half HP now. They're going to see Flatty trying to jump in, get as much damage as he possibly can. They're going to use the Nocturne ultimate alongside the set that really keeps someone into this, but there's no real damage coming out just yet. Now they've got the Kassadin jumping in, but I don't know if he's able to get this one just yet. He's just jumping, hopping, trying to see if he can get it. He is going to eventually get the double kill. You can only imagine the triple coming in straight away, and this Kassadin is officially just too big to deal with.
Yeah, I feel like that's GG. I feel like that's GG. Once again, the setup for the team fights works really well for Unicorns of Love. They do exactly the same thing that they wanted to do the last time around, and the previous fight in the jungle was, I mean, we didn't speak about one unsung hero. That was the boss with an amazing faceplant when we were talking about the previous fight. Here he just started it with the Taric, with the ulti, and then Kassadin jumps in. Here I have to praise Nomans for the utilization of the Zhonya's Hourglass, because I think that what made that what gave him like extra 2 seconds he needed to get the resets in the fight, and then he can like continue jumping, hopping, and skipping all over the enemy team. Once again, perfect execution from Unicorns of Love. Let's see the replay, but I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, I would say.
Well, this is a great combination of ultimates. You can see the Taric ultimate comes down into the Nocturne, into the set, into the Senna, which gives everyone a massive AoE shield, and then it's all on No Man's on this Kassadin. All the health bars were so low. Like you said, the Zhonya's was absolutely pivotal for keeping this Kassadin alive, and he's able to clean up house. Very, very nicely done. And we were talking about how RoX were in a 3,000 gold lead. They're now at a 4,000 gold deficit, and this is just an insane turnaround for the side of UOL. They're not down and out. They've got themselves 2 Infernal Drakes as well, so that's just more and more damage going into the Kassadin. And overall, it just feels like RoX just don't have an answer for No Man's.
Yeah, and the problem is they don't have an answer in team fights, and they don't have an answer in the side lane. You know, like your usual answer when the Cassidy comes to teamfights, you can try to control him to like layer all your CC down. Here, it's not gonna work because there's a lot of support from the side of Unicorns of Love. Because as you said, there's also Senna and Tarek. They're gonna help out this Cassidy. He can jump in pretty much anywhere he wants. He'll get the healing, he'll get the shields, the invulnerability. On top of that, you'll get CC'd because Senna is gonna be putting her Qs straight through the Cassidy. And right now, with the Baron buff, I feel like RoX can just only turtle and hope for the miracle team fight where no one's just isn't there without the TP.
Game 1, it was miracle team fights from RoX. Game 2, UOL finding the exact same miracle team fight. The one downside, though, with their composition is that they need to find these fights because their siege is pretty poor. They will not be able to take down these turrets very quick at all. You can see No Man's already going off into that side lane, has picked himself up a Void Staff just to add extra damage and extra penetration to his build. And overall, it feels like the side of RoX are just waiting for that kind of mistake, and that's never a good sign if you're on the side of a RoX fan.
That is true. That is true. Actually, I agree with you completely about the lack of the sieging potential. This is basically what comes with the Cassidy, right? No wave clear, no range. I mean, yeah, you have the setup, but she cannot be the one sieging tool that you have in your kit. So usually, in this type of composition, you want to go for 1-3-1, and you have the ability to once again help your teammates on the side lanes with the Senna ulti and with the Nocturne ulti. So I feel like we're gonna see the desperation attempt from RoX right now.
Here we go, they're going in for the steal. It's not taken. That is an Infernal Soul taken by RoX as they look to try and finish off this fight. Akali is dead, Set is also gone down, but the most important man in this team is still alive and ripping through health bars. It is, of course, No Man's on this Cassidy. He gets himself a triple. He's looking for the Quadra. He will be able to find it. The Penta is just below you as he runs down and tries to find the damage. He will be able to get it. Penta kill for No Man's.
Yeah, somebody got jealous of people like Doimb getting pentakills on Cassidy. Norman's got one for himself, a very clean execution, and even though RoX got the Dragon Soul, they couldn't do much with it because at this moment, pretty much their team fight against the Cassidy, against Tarek and Senna, and all of the unicorns are non-existent. And yeah, we said before the game started, we said about the fact that this is basically RoX being on the clock where they have to win the game early on before 30 minutes, otherwise they're gonna lose it, and they lost it. Unfortunately, they did. I mean, once the first team fight happened, actually, no, I wanna go back to a very key moment, at least in my opinion. You remember when Trundle died and Unicorns of Love got the dragon?
Yes.
I feel like that was the turning point of the game, because Trundle not dying there and getting the third dragon for themselves at 18 minutes would mean that around 20 minutes around 23 minutes, I'm very good with math apparently, you can go for the Dragon Soul. Unfortunately, they didn't manage to do so. And on top of that, they lost the Baron. Yes, they got a couple of kills after the Baron, but it didn't matter at all. Because this is not how you win against Cassidy. Cassidy is somebody who can just take away the game from you when he has his items. And, I mean, I don't want to praise Domans too much, because yes, he got the pentakill and everything. He was playing Cassidy, one of the most broken champions in the game. Yes, he is very weak early on, but when he scales up, that's a problem.
This is a huge problem for RoX in the draft now, because this was a Akali first round of picks rotation, and then the Cassidy was picked into it. So this is an answer from UOL saying we don't need to ban the Akali. We know what we can do to deal with this, and it's the Cassidy for No Man's. I am so curious to see what RoX can do in this third game, because it's effectively they have to change their entire draft, because it's just not working right now.
Yeah, but once again, I wanna point out that RoX were doing completely fine before a couple of lost fights, because you saw the amount of pressure they were able to put out on Unicorns of Love. Like Nocturne died, they lost the first turret, they were behind 5k gold. I couldn't I just cannot say that this is a drafting problem. When you have the gold lead of 5k gold and you don't win, I would say that's the execution problem. I mean, I respect, of course, I respect your opinion, and of course, I have to say that maybe you should.
We can have a difference of opinion. That's totally fine.
Yeah, sure. No, but I want to say that, of course, maybe it's better. It's better to pick Akali somewhere along the lines of like third pick on the red side, where you can pick her and immediately ban away Kassadin or maybe someone else like LeBlanc, just to ensure that there is no huge gap in terms of like late game matchups and so on. So maybe they can adapt to it and get the Akali for themselves in a better position. But I still want to say that drafting was not the biggest issue here. But
that's very fair.
I watched a lot of LPL games, and there are not many teams that can stare in the face of Kassadin without fear. I feel like his presence in the game, the fact that you are like, we should finish the game before 25 minutes, we should do it. I feel like it puts mental pressure on players, and if the team is not confident enough, like one misstep basically means you lose, like you give your opponents like 3 or 4 minutes time, and Kassadin just waits for it.
Yeah, I completely agree, and we'll have to see if they can change anything in the setup for the next game, because they are staring down the barrel of effectively a 4-0, and the way things have kind of set up, and it's a complete and utter dismantling of RoX by the Unicorns of Love, and there is no other kind of way to look at it. This team's looked exceptionally close coming into this matchup. I don't think there's any question in it whatsoever.
Exactly. Well, I guess we'll see what's going to happen in the next game after a short break. We'll be back in like 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. This is RoX, Unicorns of Love, and Unicorns of Love are leading 2-0.